So the first gentleman I'm gonna bring up Max Bone. Max, if you'll come up. I believe Coach Thomas' nickname for Max is Mr. Hollywood. And as he has been referred to, Max has been with us for 2 years. Last year, Max did film on game days for us, and this year he moved to managerial duties on the bench during games. He had some great comedical relief during those practice times and helped out during practice as well when he was not off chasing presidential candidates. I expect to hear about Ambassador Bone someday. Story about Max. So last year, we're sitting at the table, we're sitting in practice. Every drill we do has a clock set to it most of the time, well, most of the time. So, clock goes off, buzzer sounds, great, we're still going, let the clock turn off, we'll keep going, I'm not quite done with this drill. Minute later, clock goes off again. Okay, all right, keep going. Minute later, clock goes off again. All right, keep going. Minute later, clock goes off again. By this time, I started yelling at the table, "What are you doing?" And his answer is, "Hunter told me to do it." I'm like, seriously, you let a freshman tell you what to do so you yell at in the gym? I'm gonna be honest. Over the course of 10 years and having seniors get up and speak, there have been some individuals that I've wondered, what's it going to be like, or I've been a little fearful. Max, you're at the top of that list. Okay, you have 3 minutes, and I'm not sure how you're going to get through that in 3 minutes. Okay? All right, Max Bone.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you for giving me this wonderful experience that I will truly cherish for the rest of my life. You know, unlike most of these fine young men here, I have never really been gifted athletically. You know, I tried American football in middle school, did not work out very well. And I actually eventually found my place in competitive long-distance running. However, after coughing up a majority of my lungs with whooping cough, I lost that ability. At the beginning of my junior year, and very much to my father's dismay, I had more or less given up on all types of athletics. Ever since the beginning of my high school career at Notre Dame Prep, I have been longing for a way to get involved in what all of my peers, for some reason, refer to as a real sport, or what I like to call a spectator sport. After transferring to OCS my sophomore year, and several very influential experiences during the summer of 2014, I found myself desiring to be a part of something here at OCS, and ideally something that would be a challenge to me and actually put me out of my comfort zone, which is hard to do. In the fall of my junior year, I had spoken with Jack Shalata and Eric and many other of the boys on this team about the actual possibility of me getting involved in the basketball program. And when I heard that a manager was needed, I knew right away that I wanted to do it. At first, actually, I had my doubts, but then everyone on the team I talked to encouraged me a huge amount. And I would especially like to thank, at the time, my Spanish student, Hunter, for giving me that final push and taking me down to Coach's office to commit. You know, Coach warmly welcomed me, and I clearly remember my first practice when, much to my relief, the clock was much easier to work than I expected. But I do not think that Coach realized what he had gotten the team into until he watched the film from our first game at Lakes, and the only background noise he could hear was not fans cheering, but me conversing with Baptiste, or as Thomas would say, Bautiste, in French. Followed by the first Saturday practice after that game, a ball flew out of the shotgun, hit me in the head, and I fell to the floor. These are just very few of the great memories that were made during that 2014-15 season. Unfortunately, I do not think that there was one practice when I did not have company at that table. Starting with Jack Shalata, then Thomas, then Hunter, and then Cameron. I'll stop naming now, because if I listed every person that was injured or ineligible during that season, I think I would name more or less every person on the team. Needless to say, they were a crucial aspect to me fully understanding what was going on, and we made lots of great memories, some of which would even stir up laughter on the beach in Costa Rica over a year later. Aside from practicing, probably my favorite, which Coach mentioned earlier, when somehow Hunter tricked me into hitting the buzzer some 10 times in what was really probably under 5 minutes, were the games. From starting out the season with that hard-fought loss against Lakes, followed by 3 great wins at home against Genesee, Parkway, and Franklin Road. A few games that stick out in my head from that season are Jack finally being able to play against his old school Southfield, and then finally being able to watch both Washington boys on the same court at Greenhouse after some bad luck to say the least. Aside from a hard-fought season ending with an 8-13 record, I doubt that anyone can forget about my shot at the Dunham Farms game, which by the way was on purpose. Followed by that, Eric stealing my glasses off my face in the locker room at Plymouth Christian. And we never figured out what happened to them, but all those disappearing cameras. You know, overall it was an eventful season to say the least. As summer came around, I was hoping to at least find some way to be involved with the team over the summer, but due to my travels, I was not able to. However, while walking through a bazaar in northern India, I did find myself purchasing 3 basketballs and attempting to teach some boys in my village what I knew of the game. Much to my surprise, after only 30 minutes of hearing about the game, the boys were scoring into the makeshift basket I had made in a tree and getting past me no problem, even though the second option is not very difficult to do. In mid-August, on a flight from Dusseldorf, Germany to New York, I found myself thinking about Oakland Christian basketball. Not just the game, but the coaches who had taught me so much, and most of all, the players on the team who I am grateful to call my teammates. And I knew at that moment that this season was going to be great, but challenging. As the school year commenced, at times, I found myself being actually more excited than some of the players on the team for this upcoming season. And as the first week of practice came around, I was given a very pleasant surprise from Coach. An assistant manager. Unfortunately, Josh is not able to be here tonight, but he made my job so much easier and more enjoyable. First of all, he took care of all the techie things that I was bound to mess up at some point. But most important to me is that I was now able to sit on the bench with the team. I know it sounds cliched, but being able to experience the game in such an in-depth manner meant so much to me. I think all of us knew how great this season was going to be after that day spent in team bonding. Who can forget those jump ropes, the marbles, and walking across the gym on those paper plates? And of course, my all-famous quote, as Coach Hopkins will remember, "That's not French, buddy." When the first game came around, the team morale was amazing. As we ran out onto the court to warm up, the adrenaline could definitely be felt. We may not have won, and the scoreboard may not have looked that well, but we knew the season had arrived. As the season progressed, we started to realize that things had changed since last season. I believe we can all agree that at times morale was low and that frustrations arose, many of which were caused by simple confusion or just a lack of proper communication. But we were able to get past all of them and move on as a team. Overall, in my mind, this season was splendid. Just to name a few memories, who can forget our second game against Southfield when we were down by 30 points and fought our way up to a near win, which resulted in us storming the court after the game. Or when I actually almost had to do a towel run. Or when Josh Szyminski threw a basketball that went over the basket and made my head collide with the wall. And, oh yeah, not to mention when Eric scored his 1,000th point of his career at OCS. This season may have not ended in the most joyful way due to 2 of our top players being overseas, oddly without me, and ended in another great 8-13 season. Well, in the midst of this crazy game, it is easy to get caught up in all the drills, points, towel runs, and the occasional player leaving his travel gear at home. But it is important to see the bigger picture in all this. While playing this game, these young men are not just learning basketball, but they are learning dedication, grit, work ethics, communication skills, and much more. When I was sitting at the table watching these boys practice, or biting my nails through a game from the bleachers or the bench, I did not simply see a group of high schoolers playing basketball, but instead a group of dedicated young men working hard to improve themselves, and even though it may not always show, we're enjoying it every step of the way. I may see this because I know how blessed this team is, and I truly believe that each and every one of them do too. Not only do they attend a school that has the resources to provide them with new uniforms that are personalized every year, but also a coach who, for too much during the season, puts nearly his entire being into the team. Not to mention buses that transport us to every single away game free of cost. And the simple ability to play basketball, which is something that too many of us take for granted. You know, I may stress the intensity of this last aspect, just being able to play basketball, because I've seen so many kids around the world who cannot. Whether it is Afghan refugees along the Pakistani border in India, whose legs have been blown off when a bomb landed in their backyard, child slaves in Ghana who untangle fishing nets from their masters and too many times do not come up from the bottom of the lake, a 10-year-old boy working over 12-hour days in the coal mines of Peru, are simply a vacant basketball court in Guatemala City where no kid dare play because of the ever-present gang violence in his community. Through your immense dedication for the sport and the hard work you all put into it, I can truly see you guys playing for those who cannot. And through your endless shenanigans that all too often drive me crazy, I can see you all being a kid for those who cannot. Throughout my life, I have often felt as somewhat of an outsider in the Midwestern social scene, especially when it comes to athletics. This has been due to my interests, hobbies, and personality, and it's by no means an issue. I love being a nonconformist, to say. But at times it has taken a toll, especially when I would just like to be able to blend in and share an interest with my peers in my own community. You know, really, you guys have changed this. I now feel as if I am a part of something at Oakland Christian and have something in common with the average high school boy that I meet in the state of Michigan. And I want to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this. From hard-fought wins to miserable losses to endless good times that you guys have given me, this is an experience that I will truly take with me wherever I am in the rest of my life. It is evident that me and the 3 other seniors on this team will all take off on very different paths in our journeys of life this coming year. And that when we think about high school, we're going to have many things that we regard both positively and negatively. And I can assure you all, on September 10th, when I board a flight to Kampala, Uganda, with a one-way ticket in my hand, the lessons that I have learned, memories that I have made, and friendships that I have developed will be held on to tighter than my passport. So I'd like to say gracias, shukran, danyavad, akme, merci, danka, tora, and thank you very much to each and every one of you.